Hello, my quilting friends. My name is Leah Day, and as you can see, we are playing with Quilters Creative Touch today. This is the new baseline level of the software, QCT 6, and I'm going to teach you all the details, how to use it, how to quilt beautiful designs on your quilts. So stick around, we're going to learn all about computerized quilting. So here is our starting screen to QCT 6. We can do edge-to-edge quilting with the software. Now I've turned off the tutorial that is basically accessed through this help area, and this is going to show you what to do with more detail. It has a lot of text within each section of this tutorial, and you can have it set to auto open off. That's how I have set mine. So I have this toggle to off, so that way when I open my software, it just gives me very basic instructions. And this just works well for me. But please go through the tutorial if you need it. We are working on a Cutie Breeze frame, and my quilt is bigger than the frame, so I'm going to make sure that this is selected. And basically what that was it was an image of the quilt draped off one side of the frame, the right side of the frame. If you had a bigger frame, let's say an Evolution Elite, and your frame was bigger than your quilt, you can see you have a little extra batting area on both sides, and you would select that button. But I'm working on a hoop frame, so that's what it looks like. Now we're going to set the top safe area. And this is very, very specific, especially on the Cutie Breeze frame where you have this kind of curled up roller where we roll our quilt up and it gets in here. So you want to make sure when you're setting the safe area that you don't push it too far back, because as you can see over here, I could go further back and avoid that roller. But you know, really, honestly, the machine can only go back that far as set by the rollers. So here on the computer, I tap top left. Now we're going to roll all the way over. So I rolled over as far as I could to the right, and on the Cutie Breeze frame we got a little bumper that actually stops you from going any further. So once you get it pulled as far forward as you can go, we're going to tap bottom right. All right, now it's time to select our design and decide what we are going to quilt. Now you might be wondering about all of the designs included with QCT 6. You do have a limit of the number of designs to play with. You've got 100, so these are the ones that I created for QCT 6. Carla also created lots of designs for QCT 6, and then we have many made by different designers. So you can check them all out here, and you can see lots of different fun things to play with, lots of different quilting styles. So you're definitely going to find something that works for your quilts. And if you want more designs to play with, of course, all you have to do is upgrade to QCT 6 Plus. So there we go, we've selected the design. I'm doing that loopy hearts wide, and then now you select how big you want it. So you bump it up, and I would not recommend stitching a 1-inch wide quilting design. That would be a little tiny, but let's say you went too big. Let's say I went on ahead and bumped this all the way up to, let's say 7.5, which fully fills that space, but the program knows better. So whenever you try and do a design that is too big for your quilting space, you're gonna get this alert. And that says we recommend the panto height should be about 3 inches less than the safe area height. And do you want to change the setting? And obviously yes. We're going to dial this down. Let's see if we could do 6 inches. And that makes a 6-inch wide design. Let's just see. And it did not give me an error message, so I think we're going to be okay. Now I want to add just a little bit of space. Let's say 1/4 of an inch of space between those rows. I think that's going to look really nice. And so you can see a preview of what the design looks like at any given time here on the screen. So just understand as you're playing with this, you're kind of also setting how it's going to look on your quilt. So once you set up your design, you're going to end up on this page. And this is very, very important, especially if you were on a hoop frame, because it's setting where you are in your quilt. And the very first step is always going to be that upper left-hand corner. And this means that we've got the quilt edge and that left corner. So white means the quilt and pink means the batting area. So now we're actually going to roll the machine over here, and we're going to tell the program where that edge of the quilt is. So I've rolled it over, and then here on this screen I tap that node. And then I roll back so that I'm going up to the corner of the quilt. And I have my needle. It's basically I'm lining up the needle with where the corner of that quilt is. And you see that not only does it pop out and show you where you are, it also turns green. So it's a lot of indications that you've selected it. Now, let's say something it goes wrong, maybe you decide, oh, that's not really the edge of the quilt, or I got that wrong. Then just tap the node again. It's going to move slightly just to indicate that new direction. So now we'll roll over, and then we're going to tap that last node. So here I am, tap that last node. You can see my quilt is not perfectly loaded. It's not perfectly straight across, but it's close enough. Now, if it was dramatic, like if it was a 45-degree angle here, I might want to shift it and change things and reload it. But a subtle sloping is going to be fine, and the program can work with that. Now, it beeped at me, and it's indicating and telling me that we need to place these placement spots and that we're going to be moving the machine. Now, we're right here already on the right-hand side, so I'm going to click Move Right first, and make sure first that your needle is up. The program will alert you though, just in case. If you get sick of this alert and you know your needle's always up, then click Do Not Show again. But I'm going to hit OK. So the machine moved over just a little bit, and what it's doing here is it's indicating where we're going to finish stitching. And it's also slightly off in the batting area, which is what we want. So I'm going to click single stitch. The machine's going to go down, take a stitch, come back up, and if you tug on that top thread, your bobbin thread will come up to the surface. Why do we want to do this? We want to mark this particular spot on the quilt. So I'm going to grab my fine line pen, and I can just mark a plus sign. Now, if your batting is just not markable, it's not working with you, it's not playing nice today, you can put a piece of tape over this. Stickers do come with QCT 6. The one thing is you want to make sure that it's not going to move or flop off, or you're going to lose that spot. You want to make sure that you have these placement guides, and we're going to be using this method for marking throughout our quilting process. So now let's mark our left placement, and that is going to be over here on this left edge of the quilt. You can just roll your machine over and get it generally in position, and then we tap Move Left. Again, it's going to click in. You hit OK if your needle is up, and then the machine will move into position, and this is, as you can see, off in the batting area. And then now we're going to tap single stitch again. Whenever you hear that noise, that means that the carriage is just unlocked and you can move the machine yourself. Again, I'll pull that bobbin thread up so I can clearly see where that is, and then I just mark that spot. And I'm using my favorite fine line marking pen. If I was marking on darker fabrics or a dark batting, I would use my ceramic marking pencil. Okay, our marks are made, so now it's time to hit next step of the process, and that is going to be our starting stitch. So I know it's going to be roughly over here. Now, one thing you'll notice along this edge, I have gone through and I've just used my needle up, needle down button on my little rebel to baste stitch down this edge. You do want the edge of your quilt secured. It is really actually pretty dangerous to try and just hold it with your fingers. You want that to be stitched down, secured in some way. I have been also experimenting with paper tape. That's an embroidery product that's lots of fun to play with, but I'm finding with this really thick fluffy batting, it just really wasn't working all that well. So in this particular quilt, I'm going to have to baste stitch that edge down before I start quilting. So now I hit starting stitch. The needle will now move to the start and do a single stitch. This is going to allow us to bring our bobbin thread up to the surface. We can tie off and bury those thread tails. Again, it'll give us that warning, hit OK. As you get more comfortable with the program, you're going to be able to disengage some of these warnings. All right, so needle up, needle down, unlock the carriage. All we have to do is push the machine over a little bit, tug on that top thread, bring up that bobbin thread, take them, hang on to the two together, and then now we're going to hit next, and we are ready to start sewing. This is the exciting screen. All you got to do is tap sew. So right now it is stitching out that 6-inch version of Loopy Hearts. It's going to quilt through and go all the way, stitching edge to edge across, and then it'll stop whenever it reaches the edge according to our safe area set on our frame. So we have finished stitching all the way across, But right now, our thread is still connected. Top thread and bobbin thread have not been broken. So we're going to hit continue, and the program is actually going to help us break our thread. So we're going to do a single stitch. Needle will go up and down, and the carriage is actually already unlocked. So now you can pull the machine over, tug on that top thread, that brings up a loop, that is your bobbin thread. So go on ahead and leave nice long thread tails. I leave 5 to 6 inch long thread tails so that way I can tie up and bury my threads in my quilt. And I have another tutorial on hiding threads so that way you can see how to secure this nicely with a lot more detail and a nice close-up so you can really see what I'm doing. So when I tap next, the machine starts to move, and it is going to move down to this right corner, and that is going to be marking where we line up for the next section of our quilt. So you can see this screen changes as well, and we have this button, single stitch, and just exactly like we did before, we're going to mark that on our quilt. The machine unlocks, pull on that top thread, bobbin thread comes up, and where that needle hole is, I'm just going to mark a plus sign. All right, we hit next again. The machine needle again, it's going to keep giving you these warnings, and the reason is it just want to make sure that you don't break your needle. Hit OK. And now we're going to move all the way over to the left. It's going to take you over to this left area below the design, and this is really marking and creating that spacing. I wanted a 1/4 inch between the rows of my design, and that is what this is doing. Again, single stitch, the machine unlocks, roll the machine over a little bit so that way I have access to that spot and mark it. There we go. Now we're going to tap next, and now it's time to move the fabric. So this is a situation when you see this little screen come up, that means it's time to unclamp your quilt, shift it over, in which case we're going to go from being in the left corner to being in the center of the quilt. So I've shifted my quilt over, and now it's time to hit OK. So again, we see this screen, and I am now in the middle top edge of my quilt, and we're going to have 2 placement nodes here. And this is just right on the top edge of the quilt. Roll my needle up, tap that node, roll over, and I tap that node. And I am sorry about the screen glare, guys, I'm doing my best, but you can see those 2 nodes, and I am getting a little bit of veer, meaning the quilt's kind of going that way this time, but it doesn't look like it's so severe that it's going to create an issue for my QCT design. So I'm going to hit next. And then again, we're going to line up with what we did before. So I've got a left placement, and this is going to be the last stitch that we did. And then we're going to actually mark the right placement, and that's going to be set by the machine. So here is my thread break. I want to line up and make sure that my needle is going to drop down right into that spot. It looks good. And I tap that node. You see the entire design pops over a little bit. I'm going to go on ahead and hit the move right. And again, it's moving, so it's going to give me that alert. There we go. And this is going to move it up and over, and it's going to head and marking that placement spot. So I hit that single stitch, it marks it, grab my marker, and then just mark that plus sign. So now on this screen, we're going to actually go back to that starting stitch where we want to begin stitching, and we're going to pull up our thread. So generally get your machine close enough to where we finish stitching, and then you're going to hit starting stitch. Again, the machine will click on, give you that warning, roll over, and it's going to pull up your bobbin thread exactly where you stopped stitching before. So hang on that top thread, give it a tug, bring that bobbin thread up to the surface, and now I'm going to hang on to both thread tails. Now this is the screen that I kind of messed up on last time, guys, and I wanted to go over the settings. So here is settings. You want to hit that, and then you will be able to control not only your stitches per inch, but also your tie-offs. I like 3 tie-offs. I like 15 stitches per inch, and I like my bobbin thread steps on. So that's just the settings that I'm using for this tutorial. So there we go. If you, let's say, run out of bobbin thread halfway across, you can use repair pattern in order to fix that. You can also do your single stitches from this screen as well. So keep in mind, would be a time before you actually hit sew to check your bobbin and make sure that you're going to have enough bobbin thread to get all the way across. Because it is actually a lot easier to change your bobbin now versus right in the middle of the design. So now that we're happy with that and you know the settings I'm using, we're going to tap sew. So again, just like before, we're going to take those 3 stitches and then begin stitching the design. So very, very easy lining up, and this is going to look great stitched right through the middle of the top edge of my quilt. So we stitched out again, and the steps are going to be pretty much the same. We're going to again pull up our bobbin thread with a single stitch. If you want to, you can go on ahead and pull your thread out, bring your machine back, and then hit that single stitch button if you like. That I just think makes it a little bit easier to pull up that bobbin thread to have a little slack. Bring that up and then cut both thread tails, leaving them nice and long on the quilt surface. All right, so now the next step, whenever you hit next, the machine's going to begin moving. So make sure your needle's in the up position, hit next, and now we're going to mark that lower right hand placement guide. So again, hit OK. Machine's going to roll down, and this is giving you that spacing between your top row and your next row. And we're going to do a single stitch, grab our marking pencil, roll the machine over, give that bobbin thread a tug, and then mark that plus sign. Exactly where the center of the plus sign is exactly where that needle went in. Okay, so now that we've done that, it's again time to move the fabric. So you'll move your quilt again, shifting it over so you can stitch that next area. So now we're going to hit OK, and again we get this screen, and now we are on the right edge of our quilt. So we have 3 placement nodes. I'm going to roll the machine over, and I'm just going to hit these real quick so you know that lower right node, that right corner, and just know that as I am pausing, I am hitting that button so that way I am properly placed on my quilt. So I've got that placed, and then now we hit next. We're going to select that stitching line, so exactly where we broke thread right here. I'm going to select that one first, and then now I'm going to slide the machine over. So I'm going to hit the move right button, and the machine's going to go on ahead and shift. Hit OK. We're going to let it roll, and it might actually go off the edge of the quilt. So we'll do that single stitch, and we'll mark that spot just in case we need it. And as you can see, now the design is clipped to the edge of the quilt. And again, we're going to go back to our starting stitch. So this is just going to realign us. It's going to move to where we start and do a single stitch. So that way we can pull up our bobbin thread. So it's going to roll over once we hit that OK. And it will go on ahead and pull up thread, hopefully exactly where we stopped stitching before. And yes, that was a perfect end. Oh, that was great. All right, now we are ready to start stitching. Hit next. And again, we're on our sew screen. So again, just like before, we're just going to hit sew. The machine's going to roll over. It's going to do those 3 stitches, and it's going to complete stitching out this final corner. I'm switching quilts now to a simple red, white, and blue baby quilt, and we are going to stitch our next row using the design called Starry Night. This is a great choice for a patriotic quilt like this, and again, it is also included with QCT 6. So I am right here, and I have batting to my left side, and now I have 2 placement nodes here. So I'm going to roll my machine over with the edge of the quilt here, and you tap that node, and then roll down, and then you tap that node. And just in case you wanted to see, the node I was tapping was that one. Now the machine will beep at you a little bit here just to get your attention, because we need to line up with the placement nodes that we set before. This is whenever we did that single stitch before. And I'm going to line up here. It was right off the edge of the quilt in the batting area on this quilt. And I marked this with my marking pencil. So I'm lining up with that spot, and then I tap that node that brings the design down, and it's putting it with that spacing that we selected at the very beginning. So this is very important to get that right. If for some reason you lost that, it didn't mark, or you used the stickers and they fell off, you're going to have to do your best job as far as guessing, and that is guessing from the placement of the design ahead, so the design above it, and then also kind of slightly off into the batting area, and just kind of guess. So understand, it's not the end of the world if you lose it, but it is kind of good if you keep up with it. Now we roll all the way over, and in this case I marked with my fine line pen because I was on white fabric. Line up exactly, trying to get the needle exactly lined up with that plus sign, and then I tap that second node. So left placement, right placement. I now have my design set up straight across, and we're ready for the next step. We hit next. So we're going to hit starting stitch. It's going to send up a little warning, and then now you can see I'm going to get started with my first stitch. Now you bring up your bobbin thread by tugging on the top thread. Both of those thread tails are now on the surface, and that stops it from making a mess on the back of the quilt. We're going to hit next again, and then now we're on the screen ready to sew. So we have placed the design, we have set it up based on what we had before, and we're ready to sew. So there we go. We are stitching our second row, perfectly spaced and beautiful. So that's it for this video. If you are interested in computerized quilting, letting a computer run the show and be able to stitch beautiful designs edge to edge across your quilts, you gotta check out Quilters Creative Touch. You can learn more about it at leahday.com/QCT. Until next time, let's go quilt.